Hey everybody, it's Booray from Tampa, Florida, and today we're going to talk about, we're going to ask the question, what kind of photographer are you? Before we get started, don't forget to check out my podcast. It's called Photobomb. It's available anywhere the podcasts are found. You can buy some of my merch. It is right below this video. Camera Nerd is the name of my store. Lots of great stuff there. Don't forget to check out my gear. If you need gear or you're interested in figuring out what I use in my professional gear and also my travel gear, it's all on my website, and the link will also be down below in the description. Follow me on Instagram and join my group on Facebook. Whew. These things are getting longer every time I do them, aren't they? we got to make a little bit of money so that we can keep this channel going, right? So if you can help out, I really appreciate it. All right, we're going to talk about something different today. Normally on the channel, I'm doing dives, I'm doing reviews, I'm teaching camera theory and camera technical stuff. But today I want to talk about what kind of photographer you are. Because I think that a lot of people struggle with this. I know I struggled with it, and I know that a lot of other people do too. So I want to talk about this a little bit, and the different types of photographers, and which one are you? And this is the important part. It's perfectly okay to be the kind of photographer that you are, whatever kind of photographer that is. So here's my point. I like to say there's two kinds of people. There's artists and there's craftsmen. Like an artist, if you give them a piece of wood, then they'll look at that piece of wood and they'll envision something, and then they'll carefully carve away and craft and sand until they've created this beautiful piece of art that has come from their imagination. And a craftsman is a person, if you give them a piece of wood, they make a doorknob out of it, you know. They see a piece of wood and they go, oh, what can I do to just make this into something practical and something that's useful? That's a craftsman. And if you ask me, I'll tell you that I'm more of a craftsman than I am an artist. I'm absolutely a person who is more about understanding how to do anything with my camera and with my photography so that I can then do what I want to do to create what I want to create. But most of what I create is more craftsman-like than it is artistic. You know, I don't have things pop into my head, oh, I must create an image that looks like this, and then I have to go figure out a way to do it. That's what an artist does. I really don't do that. It's more like someone wants me to take a picture that's like this, and so I have to figure out how to take that picture. That's a craftsman, and that's what I am. And you might be at one end, or you might be at the other, or you might be somewhere in the middle, and it's perfectly okay no matter where you are. And I think sometimes people, well, they get a little nervous, you know, or they have a little bit of a crisis of self-confidence, because if you're a craftsman type person and you're hanging around with people who are artist type people, you feel like you're being judged because like they're so creative and you're really not. And so, you know, wow, I kind of feel like maybe they think I'm beneath them. And then if you're an artist person who's very creative and you're hanging around people who are great craftsmen, you feel like you're being judged because I have all these great ideas and these visions and these things I want to do, but they're all for me and they're all in my head. And I think they're judging me because I don't know how to do it the way that they would do it. Or, this is another thing, if you're an artist, you want to do it in a way that isn't the accepted norm. And that's a tough, tough thing to do when you're an artist. It is tough to go against everything that everyone says is good and say, you know what, I think this is good, and this is what I'm going to do. And if you like it, great, and if you don't, great. And you have to keep in mind that most of the people who changed up the dynamic when it comes to art, especially in the painting world, most of them weren't really accepted until they were dead. So you can spend your whole life doing this thing that you love in your way and never really have it be popular to anyone other than you. And this is tough when you're an artist. But to give you a little inspiration, let's talk about just a couple of photographers who have transcended some boundaries and done some things like this. And the first one I want to talk about is Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol was absolutely an artist. I mean, pure artist. Because Andy did what he wanted to do. Andy, a bunch of his pictures were Polaroids. Andy would just take Polaroids of people. And he was like, this is my work. This is my art, and I love it. And he didn't seem to care if anybody else loved it. I mean, I didn't know Andy, but, you know, you get the sense that Andy was in his own little world, and he was doing his own little thing, and he didn't care. And you know what? The population, you know, it came around to the idea that some of what Andy was doing was pretty cool, and his work became iconic Before he was even dead, it became iconic, and even more so after he passed. So this is a guy who was definitely all about the art. Now, that's not to say he didn't apply some craftsmanship to the work that he was doing. He did. But he was more about the art than he was anything else. Another person who I thought was really great when it comes to art is Vivian Mayer. I just love Vivian Mayer. Vivian Mayer spent a lifetime taking photographs on the streets of New York, and no one even knew it. She didn't publicize her work or anything. In fact, she was discovered when someone bought an entire box full of undeveloped film at an estate auction. And when he started developing it, he was like, oh my gosh, this stuff is incredible. And then Vivian Mayer became this huge name in the photography world. But this woman walking around New York City taking pictures for years just for herself. Many of them never developed. That's an artist. That being said, she still had Craftsman in there. There were times when she absolutely was paying attention to the light, paying attention to the composition to get what she needed. It's really hard to be pure artist without also having a little bit of Craftsman. And then there's Annie Leibowitz. If you look at Annie's early work, and this is especially true for a lot of photographers who were working on the go and on location back in the days when we didn't have the equipment that we have today. She was all about the picture. And I think that it was more about the art than it was anything else. She just wanted to get the good picture. She wanted to get something cool. She was taking pictures of people who at the time weren't necessarily celebrities, but they would be one day. And sometimes they were. And she was working for Rolling Stone when she was very young. But she was really just about, let's take some pictures of this person, or let's try and get some personality, and let's try and create some, just get something cool, which is, I think, what most people kind of go into photography with. But as she progressed in her career, man, did she ever get into the craftsman side. She held on to the artist side. Her work is still extremely artistic and extremely beautiful, but she absolutely learned how to do the craftsman side. She learned how to bring all the gear and light everything exactly the way she wanted to light it, exactly the way she wanted to photograph it, so she could recognize her vision. So the two worlds, they really come together. And I guess the purpose of this whole video is that I wanted to talk to people, especially if you're a newer photographer, and let you know that if you are struggling with feeling like you're not artistic enough, or feeling that you're not enough of a craftsman, and you're trying and you feel like some of your friends are better at this than you are, or better at that than you are, I just want you to know that you're not the only one. Everyone goes through it. I go through it even today. There are absolutely groups that I can be hanging around with when I'm at a convention, and I'm like, everyone in this group must just think I'm a hack because they are all such incredible artists. And I'm not. I'm not an incredible artist. I'm more of a craftsman. And then I realized it's okay to be a craftsman. The world needs craftsmen. We need the good carpenter. We need the good plumber. Not everyone has to be a sculptor, right? And even if you're a craftsman, there's always some art in your work. You always have some of your artistic sensibility that bleeds through into the craftsmanship of what you do. So don't judge yourself. Find the thing that makes you happy. Learn enough about the craftsman side to be able to create the thing that makes you happy. And then just be happy. Just be happy being the type of photographer that you are. All right, throw me a like, throw me a sub. Be sure and click the bell so that you'll get notifications when I come up with new videos on the channel. And thanks for watching.